Are we living in a real life Westworld? And if so, are handlers the Archons of the Matrix? I've done a previous episode on Westworld, so this episode is going to be a little bit of an extension on that, or expansion on that, and I might revisit themes from my last videos about Mall World and the Gateway tapes and Monarch programming, because to be honest with you guys, all of it ties together. So I don't even know where to start for this video because my mind is kind of blown. But I'm going to start with a question that somebody asked on my channel. They brought up handlers, and now I don't remember their exact question. But this seems to be something that a lot of people are wondering, like, how do I know if I have a real handler, like straight up Monarch programming? I was in a warehouse, they did experiments on me and gave me pink drinks or something like that, played me sound frequencies and flashing lights. Or am I just an everyday person with a parent, a partner, a boss, a friend who resembles a handler, but I don't have any evidence that I was actually a victim, a true victim, I was going to say true victim, of Monarch mind control. But I want to present to you a theory today, which is completely a theory, just for fun here as I'm walking in the desert. What if all of us have been mind controlled? What if all of us have handlers? Because what if we're living in a simulation or a holographic universe, and demons are the Archons of the Matrix? Or handlers are the Archons of the Matrix, but demons are the Archons of the Matrix. I think they're basically the same thing. So how did I come to this conclusion? Well, this is just today's conclusion, of course, because I'm always keeping an open mind about what's really going on in this reality. But I was thinking today about demons, not Demons, but Daemons. Deamons. If you don't know what Daemons or demons are, they are computer code, I believe, that runs in the background of our computer systems, operating behind the scenes. For example, I think they're the things that notify us when an email is going to be sent, or Daemons are the ones that send the email. I'm not a super technical person. I only really understand this in a general sense. So if you have anything to add to the comments to educate us all, feel free. But all I need is basic knowledge to present you with this theory. So what are demons from a spiritual perspective? Demons from a spiritual perspective are basically the same thing. So if demons, or I'll call them Daemons just for the sake of differentiating the two, if Daemons are computer code running in the background, making sure our emails are getting sent and notifications taken care of and all that, and demons on a spiritual sense are disembodied spirits who are also technically running around in the background. We can't, most of us can't see them with our eyes or tangibly feel them. But if you've ever had an encounter with a demon, you know they're there, they're real. So there's a lot of people and a lot of theories out there that have presented this idea that we live in a holographic universe, or we live in a simulation. And I was just watching a video the other day. I'm really interested to do more research on this. And I can't remember this guy's name, but he came across a YouTube video. I think he was the guy, is it Michael something, that wrote, I think he wrote a book called The Holographic Universe or something. Or was he the one that came up with this theory? I don't know. Again, sorry I don't have more facts with me right now. But I'm kind of like doing this stream of consciousness style video where I'm walking and thinking. But the holographic universe theory describes reality as something we project with our minds. And side note, so does the Gateway tapes, or the CIA's assessment of the Gateway tapes, which came out, I believe, in the 80s, saying that the universe, or saying that we're living in a holographic universe. And according to the holograph universe theory, or is it a theory? I don't know. Model of reality, we project reality, we see it in like a 3D projection, but it all exists kind of almost like on a strip of film. So in that strip of film contains the holographic projection that we all see. So it's almost as if reality, or all that is reality, might exist on a film strip. But depending on our point of view and our state of consciousness, we're only shining through specific frames at a time. And that's why people can have different perspectives. Another great way of explaining this in a similar way is that you have a goldfish tank in the middle, and you've got somebody watching it from this side and that side and that side and that side. So somebody's going to see the side of the goldfish, somebody's going to see the front of the goldfish, someone's going to see the other side of the goldfish. They're all seeing different truths of the same goldfish from a different perspective. So in the same way, to my understanding, that's how things like the law of attraction is true, or the holographic universe is true. Like all of reality and all potentials for reality, all potentialities exist infinitely in one big whole, like one whole space. And this is also similar to something I've heard Dr. Stephen Greer talk about when he was talking about, he was talking about this in his documentary, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where he's talking about when we meditate, we all individually have access to all of reality. So basically, when it comes to teachings like the law of attraction, it's all about understanding how to tune ourselves to specific frequencies, or tuning ourselves to specific viewpoints of reality. And this is also making me think of Bashar, who is a channel, Daryl Anka, I think that's how you say his name, is a channel for an entity known as Bashar, who is apparently an extraterrestrial, from another civilization. And his channelings are, in my opinion, filled with a wealth of knowledge. And he often talks about how we are all shifting to new realities, like minute by minute, depending on what we choose to focus on, which is essentially what the law of attraction teachings are all about, which goes back to what I was just talking about with the goldfish. Like, what perspective are you gonna see the goldfish from? And I wish that everybody could understand this, because if more people understood that two or multiple truths can be true at one time based on our perspective, then I feel like world peace would be perhaps a lot more attainable. But a lot of people don't really understand this concept, and for some reason we're not really talking about it. I feel like most people take reality as, too literally, and there's a lot of people who want to be able to see, smell, taste, touch, experience it in the real 3D form and whatnot. But if you are one of those people who kind of snubs your nose at law of attraction, I invite you to try a simple experiment. Like, think of something that you're not very attached to, like perhaps a dollar bill, finding a penny, finding a dime, finding a green car, and just put that intention out there to the universe and say, hey, universe, if I'm really creating my own reality, then show me a green car, or show me $1 in the next 24 hours. And then just forget about it. Don't obsess over it, or the experiment might not really work, but just kind of go about your day, and then have no expectations. If you don't believe in the law of attraction, you probably won't have them anyway. You'll probably be waiting for the universe to prove you wrong. And then just see what happens. See if you see that green car, or that dollar bill, or that dime, or the penny, or whatever. That's how I started believing in the law of attraction myself, is trying like little experiments like that, and then slowly over time started to build my faith in the universe and law of attraction, and kind of made me question my whole experience of reality. Like, are we living in a simulation? What is this? Okay, so all of that being said, let's go back to handlers and demons or daemons. And let's talk about DARPA. And let's talk about Sabrina Wallace. I think that's her name. I've only looked into her content a couple of times. To be honest, she's a very smart lady, and a lot of the terms she uses go straight over my head. But please tell me her name is Sabrina Wallace, or I'm going to feel really stupid. According to Sabrina Wallace, she is supposedly, allegedly, I smell a skunk, I better turn around. She's allegedly a victim of DARPA and is speaking out about it, and I hope she's still around. But she talks about how we've been hooked up to the cloud or Big Brother surveillance literally since the 90s. So for some of us, a lot of you that watch my channel, that's literally your whole entire life, or most of your life. So if you're born in the 80s and 90s, which is around the time that the CIA's assessment of the Gateway tapes was coming out, where they talked about the holographic universe, and they were understanding different states of consciousness. They were learning about remote viewing. They were allegedly testing it on children via hearing tests for the GATE program, Gifted and Talented program. And I just came across some information just doing a simple search on ChatGPT. So I don't even know that much about DARPA. Never really been inspired to look into it. But even just looking into ChatGPT and like asking, what is DARPA? Like, give me the gist of it. The ChatGPT was saying DARPA has already created holographic, its own holographic simulations for their own battle simulations. And the whole purpose of DARPA is to research technology to protect the citizens of the United States, or to protect our military interests. I'm not sure if those overlap or not anymore, to be honest with you. But apparently some of the tech they were studying like 30 years ago was way more advanced than anything we know about now. So a lot of this stuff is kind of hidden. So unless you really seek out this information and are looking for hard evidence of it, it's not really something that's like talked about in the news or the media or anything like that. However, I do find it very interesting that DARPA, if I'm not mistaken, is that the same thing as the Department of Defense, or like a branch of it or something. And we know from, if you've watched my other videos, that Department of Defense is in bed with Hollywood, which is in bed with a lot of the secret societies and the founding fathers of our country and the Illuminati bloodlines that run the country. And it's all just seems to be connected. And Hollywood movies, they've been showing us this crazy tech for a long time, except we've been watching it on the silver screen thinking, oh, it's just a movie. Of course, they don't have technology like they do have in Inception. They couldn't infiltrate our dream space, right? We don't have technology to put a Neuralink in anyone's brain to build super soldiers. We don't have the technology to build a holographic simulation like they show on Westworld, where we can track all the citizens and use AI to predict their behaviors. No, it's a TV show, right? Well, according to a very simple search on ChatGPT, which has been known to pull our legs sometimes, so is it really 100% accurate? I don't know, but for the sake of this video, according to my sources, yes, DARPA was studying that stuff decades ago. And if you, like I said, if you're in the 80s, born in the 80s or 90s, that means you've been hooked up and followed your whole entire life. So is it really so far-fetched to say that we all have handlers and we've all been under some form of mind control, because we're living in a time where now we have handheld computers, essentially, aka our cell phones, where we can Google anything about anyone, about anything at any time. We have infinite access to knowledge at our fingertips. And we've got GPS, and then we've got TVs and stuff in our homes, which wasn't there a movie, is it Edward Snowden, that was talking about how the government or whatever intelligence agencies are spying on us through our telephones, our phones, TVs, etc. And I just want to also say another side note. How many of you have ever been on a Zoom call or Facebook Live or some kind of a video chat with somebody where you were talking to that person, neither one of you are pressing any buttons, and then they say something and then you both see a thumbs up on the screen, like somebody or something liked that comment. The other day even, I picked up a EVP in my garage when I was talking about probably a sensitive subject. I made a whole video on that, like asking, was it a disembodied spirit that was the voice I captured, or was it some kind of like Big Brother technology spy that was the voice that I heard? Maybe it's both. I don't know. But today, when I was thinking about how I wanted to make this video, and I was thinking about this idea of handlers like just being the Archons of the Matrix. I'm thinking about Daemons being the background technology that's running without our conscious awareness in the background of our technology devices. So I'm coming to the conclusion that handlers are all of us. How do we know that we're not a handler? Depending on our specific frequency at any given moment. So if we're all under some kind of mass mind control, which I feel like we are, I think like no matter how hard you try not to be, if you've ever watched a damn movie, if you've ever participated in any social media platforms, if you've ever had to send an email out to an employer or apply for a job or register your car or register your driver's license, basically, unless you're literally living like a caveman out in the middle of the world, you are prone to some kind of mind control because we're all part of the grid, whether we want to be or not. Some of us more than others. So when it comes to handlers and attracting handlers, I feel like because we are beings that are sensitive, but also we exist in a time where Big Brother's always watching. We've got cell phones that are sending us, they're predictive algorithms, right? So we watch one video one time and now all of a sudden all that stuff starts to show up. So could that be why we attract specific partners? Why we are influenced to go for specific partners or specific jobs? No matter how pure you think you are, or I think I am, can we not be honest with ourselves and say, yeah, I've probably been influenced by my own personal algorithms on the internet and the videos that I watch. So how do I know that I haven't been a handler for someone? And when I think of handlers, I'm more so thinking of people that you have a one-on-one close relationship with. And a handler in like an MK-Ultra Monarch programming sense is basically somebody who's kind of monitoring you or guiding or predicting your behaviors. But even in relationships, it could be somebody who maybe you're attracted to physically and they're your type, or you're trauma bonding with them, so their wounds mirror your wounds, which creates an attraction. But at the end of the day, it also creates a distraction from your deeper purpose, which might be helping others or contributing to a cleaner earth, like picking up trash or creating some kind of free energy device or cleaning up our oceans or coming up with a water filtration system. Because if we're all, a product or victim or whatever, however you want to look at it, like we all are users of this technology. So in a way, all of us have been a victim of some kind of algorithm or handler directing our life, because we live in a time where, as Sabrina Wallace was saying, like we have been hooked up to the cloud and we've had surveillance surveilling, I can't freaking say that word, but surveillance happening our whole lives. And they even have like cell phone technology or Apple Watch and stuff like that that can monitor your heart rate. And then I think there's even apps for sleep. So it tracks your sleeping cycle. So if you're worried about a handler or anyone controlling you, first I would try to live as much off-grid as possible, as in less reliance on technology, like turn off certain features in your phone, turn off constant notifications so you're not tempted to scroll, aka have an algorithm feed you something so it's being your handler. And what else? Sorry, I thought I heard a person or something, but yeah, turn off technology, turn off notifications, and then also like your Apple Health device if you don't want something to have access to your biofeedback. This might sound crazy, but maybe stop going to like a regular doctor and maybe clean up your diet and eat whole natural foods and look into holistic healing so you don't have to rely on the medical system if possible. Because if you are relying on the medical system in any way, then they really have information on you and they really have the ability to predict what you do, influence what you do, connect you with people who might influence what you do. So I think at this point in our reality, it's kind of hard to escape that. But I think awareness is key. And like I said, little things here and there that we can do to protect ourselves from influence and outside influences. So back to this idea though that handlers are the archons of the matrix. What I meant to say earlier and what I'm basically trying to say is that everybody can be a handler. And if handlers are the archons or the demons, which means they're running in the background. So they're, I don't know. I'm kind of like comparing this idea that we live in a simulated universe. So you could compare the simulated universe to like real reality or whatever. And then in the simulated universe -- real reality, we have either technological daemons, which are codes that are running in the background, which might as well be disembodied spirits, which are running around in the background. So any moment where we're not consciously choosing what we're focusing on, or choosing what we are creating. So that means anytime we are on autopilot, so we're mindlessly eating, we're mindlessly consuming alcohol, mindlessly smoking on MJ, mindlessly popping another pill, mindlessly watching TV, mindlessly listening to music, which is all programming. Even music, it's programming. That's the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing for me to understand, that music plays with your emotions and it creates repetition in your head. So you better watch out for what lyrics you're singing on repeat, because I guarantee you they will manifest years later, if not sooner. At least that's what happened to me. Taking Back Sunday, a decade under the influence. Yeah, I spent a decade under the influence after screaming all their lyrics at the top of my lungs. Close your eyes, just settle, settle. Close your eyes, just settle, settle. Hello, my whole love life. There's people on this trail, so let me turn back around. But yeah, watch out for all the stuff that we're listening to is what I'm trying to say. So not only are the people that we are interacting with and opening our circle up to prone to these influences if they're living on autopilot, but so are we. So we can't be always pointing the finger at people and saying, well, they're the handler, I'm a victim. They're the handler, I'm the victim. If we too are prone to the same influences. And just because somebody is acting like a handler doesn't mean they're straight out of MK-Ultra handler book, or they're from the government here to spy on you. It could literally be as simple as somebody who lives their life on autopilot and they're like the epitome of a mind-controlled human being, which would be all the things I mentioned, because those are all the things that the MK-Ultra programming books were talking about when they're trying to mind control people. They use substances, hypnosis, repetition, and things like flashing the lights, like raves, anyone, concerts, anyone, altered states of consciousness, gateway tapes, anyone, watching TV, anyone, music, anyone, sound frequencies, anyone. They use repetition, music, anyone, and then they implant things in your subconscious through movies, Hollywood programming, television programming. So yeah, so we're all victims of this. So how can we not be though? Like, what's our best chance at avoiding these handlers in our lives and avoiding the demonic influence? Being conscious. So for me, my first step at becoming a more conscious human being, because of course I'm not perfect either. I have moments too, just like all of us. And if we ever think that we are perfect, then we better watch out, because it sounds a little narcissistic to always be pointing the finger at other people and not be able to call ourselves out on our own bullshit. And when we're lacking self-awareness, we also might be prone to doing that. But it's not helping us if we can't own our own SHIT, you know what I'm saying? So self-awareness is the first thing. The second thing is, not everyone's gonna like this either, but law of attraction and brushing up on it, like learning how to train your vibrational state and your own perspective. So how can I start to pay attention to my own thoughts and what I'm thinking on a regular basis? Because my mind is like a computer. That's what the whole Cisco Wheeler, Fritz Springmeier book that I always talk about and always reference is about. It's basically comparing the mind to a computer. They talk about codes in the book too, programming codes, which I thought was like computer codes, and it was freaking me out. Like, oh my God, are we like AI? Are we living in a simulation? Like, I don't know. I'm still not 100% sure on this, but apparently it's all metaphor for computers and your mind being able to be programmed like a computer. So think of the mind control programs as software that just gets updated all the time. So every time new music comes out, every time new actors are on the scene, every time new movies come out with certain themes about aliens and whatnot, every time news stuff comes out, every time a great person is assassinated, like it is programming for the collective. So we have to be strong enough as individuals to recognize that this programming is happening, and then decide consciously that we don't want to be a part of it. Like, we want to write our own scripts and our own program, because basically what they're doing, they, as in the elite, as in, I'm not going to name any organizations specifically, but they, as in the elite, are using us to manifest the reality that they want. So they're putting the programming in this collective hologram, and then we're creating it. And if we have this stuff in our consciousness more, it starts to become a physically manifested reality. But it always starts somewhere. So it started from what we were consuming and the stories that we were telling ourselves about what we were consuming. So do you have the ability to look at something and then say, like, detach from it, right? And that's what meditation teaches. Meditation teaches us detachment, which is why I'm always teaching meditation and encouraging people to meditate, because meditation also helps you detach from your emotions, and it helps you ultimately control your emotions. Because if you are not consciously controlling your emotions or detaching from them and learning to observe them rather than over-identify with them, then you're prone to whatever your brain is going to think. So your brain wants to stay in homeostasis, and your brain has neural networks. Neuroplasticity is a thing. Like, you can retrain your brain to start having different ideas about love, about money, about your relationship with food or life or jobs or income or whatever. So we can retrain our brains out of this mind control. But in order to do so, we have to stop blaming everybody else, because then we're the victim and we don't have power in the situation. Then take personal accountability and responsibility for how we are allowing ourselves to be programmed, and then look at what habits that we are participating in that might not be conducive to allowing us to be the sovereign human beings that we are trying to be in order to break free from this matrix programming. Another thing that has helped me immensely has been astrology. So some people might argue like, it's a construct of the matrix. It like is a pre-program. But I've argued back that elite societies use astrology for rituals and stuff and mind control purposes. So if somebody more powerful than a lot of us. They're not, but you know, I say it in quotes. They're, you know, think that they're all powerful. They're using these systems. So shouldn't we educate ourselves on the same systems? And then kind of it all goes back to the Bible, because as I've said in other videos, the Bible is all symbolic, and a lot of it is symbolism, like the 12 apostles, the 12 zodiac signs, the Great Conjunction, like the Star of Bethlehem. We just experienced that in 2020. So there's a lot of echoes about astrology in the Bible that a lot of people don't realize that they're talking about astrology, because they're not educated enough on astrology to recognize the I can't think of the word, the synchronicities, not the synchronicities, the similarities, I guess. So a lot of people miss it. But anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions. I think that astrology is really important, and at least for me, it's really helped me understand the cycles in my life, because there have been times where the law of attraction like doesn't fully cut it, like, and sometimes I do feel like I'm victim of something like outside of me. But it's been helpful to like be able to look up astrological influences that are going on certain days. That's why I make moon calendars for myself every month. Which, side note, by the way, if you want me to keep making them, let me know you're going to buy one, because it's so much work for me. So I don't really feel like making one unless I'm going to have 5 to 10 people interested in buying it. Otherwise, I'll just make them for myself. And it will be less work because I don't have to like list it and do all those things. But so anyways, if you want a moon calendar, let me know in the comments, and I'll keep offering them. But I use things like the moon calendar to like plan my business and stuff like that, and understand my personal cycles, and also the personal themes that my soul has decided to work through in this lifetime. So astrology has been really helpful for me in helping me break certain patterns, and also just have self-awareness and understanding about them. And then human design is similar to astrology in that aspect, where human design is more about understanding your energy field and how you operate in this world, how you're prone to conditioning, and your personal strategy, personal authority, like how you're designed to make decisions. So all of that stuff is helpful. And if you're interested in more tools for deprogramming or reprogramming, I offer opportunities to work with me one-on-one. And I also have an EXP development and remote viewing mastery course available at the link in my description. So go there if you want to learn how to develop your own discernment and intuition. And if you don't have resources to invest in anything, the best place you can start for free is meditation. Make a daily commitment to yourself to meditate. No sound, just raw dog it. Promise me, you'll raw dog it. Meditation. And commit to it every day for 15 minutes. Even if your mind is talking to you, even if it can't shut up, you're training your brain to observe your thoughts rather than over-identify with them. So I hope this video is helpful. Thank you for being here on this journey with me, and I will see you guys in the next video.